Alright, hi. Your body is made out of microbes, bacteria, microanimals, and so on. If anything happens to them, we die, because they are in charge. Anything that is antibacterial is destructive. And contrary to popular belief, coconut oil is not antibacterial, because no natural food is. Killing yourself is unhealthy. You are alive because of the microbes. The same goes for the parasites, which are symbionts, meaning that they live in symbiosis with the body. Anyone who tells you that eating raw food is dangerous because of the bacteria and parasites is removed from nature, because they are telling you that eating naturally is wrong and should be forbidden. Bugs and worms are found in all plants and animals. That's why the government will tell you to cook your food. Nature is wrong. Listen to us. Destroy your food before eating it.
Bacteria mainly will always eat your food to help you digest. If you've got any decay in the system, you've got a cell that died, what is going to break that cell down? Is that cell just going to disappear? No, it's a whole organism. It needs to be digested and removed from the body. What's going to digest it? Bacteria. But the medical profession will point at those bacteria and say, see, they're destroying a cell. What kind of a cell? Not a healthy cell, a dead cell, or a cell that is dying and it needs to get rid of. You have to watch the medical profession. Bacteria is always good that's inside your body. The only bad bacteria is man-made bacteria like the 0157H7 that you'll never find anywhere but a laboratory, never in nature, unless it's planted, and then it will never be alive. Bacteria can eat 50 times their weight in 24 hours, both intestinally as a digestive aid or to get rid of dead cells in your body or any kind of organic waste product. Bacteria eats. Bacteria eats fecal matter, waste products, whatever it is, other bacteria, compounds, networks, microcosms and macrocosms of bacteria keep everything moving. On this whole planet, it is bacterial. And if you really look into the microbiologists, there's one, I forgot her name, who even went into TED a few years ago, which is that organization of rich intellectuals that, pats themselves on the back because all these great things they're doing. They don't have a frickin' clue either. They're closer, but they really don't have a clue because they're rich people. They like their toys and everything, so they can't get out of use of those. But anyway, there's a microbiologist and a bacteriologist that said 99% of the body is bacteria, you're 1% human. And that's so true. So we should be, and she believes in bad bacteria. And she hasn't studied it thoroughly. She's so young yet. She's like 40 years old, and she just hasn't had the experience, the independent experience. She knows that bacteria is good, but there are still bad bacteria out there, and they're whatever the pharmaceutical industry says they are. She hasn't discovered that they're not bad. So I would like a janitor in my body that eats 50 times its weight in 24 hours and reduces the waste to 1 to 5%. Hey, give me a janitor like that any day. I'll take it. Parasites are even better. If your body collects too much waste at a time, let's say you had an injury, fell out of a tree, you were climbing up to get a coconut out of a palm, and you fell down and bruised your whole body. You're going to have a lot of dead cells from that. If you fell on something sharp or a stone or something, you're going to have some damage in the body. Now, removing that much waste quickly, bacteria can't always do it. So your body will incubate parasites from your own tissue. Parasites are a natural part of every animal cell. And to prove that, I spent $60,000 on this experiment. Took a laboratory room completely isolated. We built it, everything natural, no asbestos or anything. Built the room, had it divided with glass, and then I had a funnel going up from in this chamber. I was putting some lamb or sheep. It wasn't a lamb, it was a little older. Sheep, freshly butchered in a sterile environment right outside this room Nothing ever touched it, contaminated. Put it in that, close the chamber over it, chamber within a chamber, and this was all blown with glass. It went up and then to the other side where I did the butchering, and then that went over and was funneled over a corn dracaena, which produces a lot of oxygen. 3 HEPA filters to blow the oxygen through the 3 HEPA filters, so no parasites, nothing can get through it. So it was getting a natural oxygen. So everything would be as it is in nature. Now, this animal had no parasites. It was a completely healthy animal until I butchered it. And then I ate the rest of it. Made use of it. So in 3 days, and we kept the room at body temperature of the natural body temperature of the sheep, which was about 102.2 degrees. So it kept it right at that temperature. In 4 days, it was full of parasites, various kinds of parasites, and loaded with bacteria. Just remember, every animal cell you have, and you're full of animal cells, that's all you have is animal cells, has seeds for parasites. Something that comes out of hibernation only when you need them.
It's true. It's reported certain celebrities have sworn by it. Well, here to tell us about the raw meat diet is author of We Want to Live, The Primal Diet, and Recipe for Living Without Disease, Aajonus Vonderplanitz. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tell you what, when I read about your diet that you eat, I was shocked because raw meat in general, we always say don't eat it because it's filled with bacteria that can cause serious illness, even death, salmonella amongst them. So I want you to come up here and let's talk a little bit about what you eat and why. Come on up. So you're eating literally raw meat. This is raw chicken.
Correct.
And you're just eating that.
Correct.
And where are you getting the
Do you
chicken?
eat it right off the bone like that?
Well, I can eat it right off the bone. Would you like to see?
Have you prepared it specially? Is it a particular kind of meat?
No, well, my preparation is to leave it out to give room temperature. This is a little cold. There's no taste. It's like, you know, paper.
Do you buy it from the regular grocery store?
No, this is Rocky Jr. chicken, which is grown on non-GMO corn.
Do you eat fruits and vegetables, or do you just pretty much eat raw meat?
I eat 1 fruit a day and vegetable juice, not whole vegetables.
So, you know, as doctors, we have to challenge you a little bit here, because...
I'm getting hungry.
Go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this is really good.
Can't watch.
I'm sorry.
Now, all the respect in the world for you and what you're doing. I do not recommend this to anyone at home or anyone in the audience.
These people talk about raw meat as if it's not an animal. All of us are very similar. So to say that you can get something from meat that isn't already inside of us is illogical. Some animals will have more of these symbionts for different reasons. It's the same if you eat any fruits or vegetables. If you find large amounts of them, it's because they are supposed to be there. Fish that are in toxic water will create symbionts to clean the body. But once they are done feeding on whatever is bothering you, they will leave. The toxins, dead cells, weak and decaying tissue. You will have a lot of them if you eat a lot of plants, because they rot in your large intestine and they like to feed on that. We have been eating meat since the beginning. So to believe that all of a sudden it's a problem is ridiculous. This fearmongering was created to destroy your health. Eat toxic ginger and papaya seeds. That will kill everything in your body along with the symbionts that are trying to heal you.
A raw meat diet, I'm going to tell you right now, runs the risk of so many bad things, whether it's salmonella amongst others. And, you know, again, to each their own.
For pregnant women, obviously toxoplasmosis we're very concerned about for raw meat, and that can cause birth effects.
Especially
The women
kids.
who've been pregnant on this diet, when they give birth, only have 2 contractions and the baby's out.
This is a dangerous diet for your average person.
How do you know that?
Because
Have you
in
observed
the ER, I have taken care of people who have actually almost died from eating raw chicken.
My question is
Who
how...
have you seen that's eaten raw chicken? I think that's a myth. I don't believe you.
My question is...
I've done it.
How does-
25,000 people do it.
A lot of kids, especially, are prone to food poisoning and you know, E. coli especially, from unpasteurized juice and milk, and that would, you know,
That
that's
is,
dangerous.
that is a myth. When I did my laboratory
Pasteurization
work,
was
There's
a breakthrough,
autopsy
a health
results to
breakthrough.
prove that it's not a myth.
How do you feel
Yeah.
that
I think it is a
cooking hurts the food?
if you will let me contest you, laboratory-wise, how much have you done on observing people who've eaten raw meat? How much laboratory work have you done?
I'm actually
studies
agreeing.
that
I
go
think
back
raw
years.
food, raw vegetables, raw fruit, and you know, is great.
But
But
it doesn't-
there's a
there's
huge
not enough
for
protein
meat,
in it.
and there's for some of the meats and for milk, there's risk for infections that you really got to be concerned
See,
about.
the problem is that you've been taught the bacteria theory, which is a complete...
Bacteria is not a theory. I'm sorry.
Yes,
Yeah,
well,
no,
bacteria is
a lot
not a
of
theory.
science
There's bacteria in all of this. To fear these is a problem. When you pasteurize or cook something and the bacteria feeds on it, then you have a toxic byproduct. That's why 2 years ago at Davis University in Northern California, they took raw milk and they spiked it with 5 different bacteria that are accused of growing in raw milk. Since the lactic acid is raw, the bacteria could not grow. It could not flourish. However, when they spiked pasteurized milk, it grew in an instant. That was dangerous. So raw milk, raw meat or not, when you cook them and then the bacteria feeds on it, there are toxic byproducts. Otherwise, they help you.
So the takeaway here is, again, you know, this is a diet that you've used that has contributed, in your opinion, greatly to your health. And I think that is wonderful. That's the whole point of the show. Shocking health trends. Again, I think it's wonderful that you eat this. No thanks, not for me. I'll take my chicken cooked, thank you.
Have you ever been to a French restaurant?
Don't,
I
Steak
have.
tartare, raw meat with raw
Don't you
egg.
have-
Right, and
Sort-
absolutely, there are certain meats and fish,
Prepared
sushi,
the right
that
way,
if
yeah.
prepared correctly,
I love raw.
you know,
I
in the
mean,
right way, are lower in risk for bacteria and all these other bad things. But again, if you're at home, don't go to the grocery store and pick up a few chicken breasts and eat them raw, because you do risk very serious illness.
Joel Weinstock, a gastroenterologist, full professor at the University of Iowa, 20 years ago, took a look at the pigs on the farm, very healthy pigs, in the slop, in the dirt, in the fecal matter, urine, lived it and breathed it every day. The animals that were in the university were kept in very clean stalls, concrete, and they were cleaned several times a day. They were given sterile food. Everything was perfect, and these animals were sickly. So he said, well, you know, I'm a gastroenterologist, so I'm going to take a look at the digestive tract. So he looked at the digestive tract. The animals, the pigs that were in the university, had no trichinosis. They had no whipworm in their intestines. Yet the ones on the farm were full of these parasites and were thrivingly healthy and robust, cantankerous and everything. Those that were in the university were just slugs, literally slugs. So he said, I'm going to do an experiment here. He took the whipworm, the trichworm, from the pigs on the farm and infused them into the intestines of the small intestines of the pigs at the university. In 5 days, they were well and energetic. We have a digestive tract more like the pig than we do the apes and monkeys, other primates. Every tribe that I know on the planet has trichinosis in its intestines. In Thailand, they tell them it's bad. They give them antibiotics. They tell them to sterilize the food and stop eating raw fish and raw meats. And they get sick and they get old and their teeth rot early. And they go on to this 80% rice diet. And they age and deteriorate. And yet the older ones that eat the old way, lots of raw meats and very little of anything else, thrive and are very healthy and are old. We are supposed to have trichinosis. When I have somebody who has a history, an unruly history of constipation, I say go to my Amish farmers, get some pig's intestines, small intestines, eat it. Eat a half cup, a whole cup, just once. Your entire digestion will change, the constipation goes away, everything is, because you are now digesting something properly. So 9 out of 10 cases were completely well after eating that. And it lasted for 5 to 6 months. Now, Joel Weinstock saw that, and he said, well, I wonder if this will happen with humans, because they're supposed to have trichinosis too. And yet we're told trichinosis is one of the worst diseases you can get. cook your pig until you can't tell it was ever an animal before. It's charcoal. So he went to the FDA, and the FDA told him, you can do the experiment on, let's say, how many you want, 6 to 10 people, but they all have to have suffered for more than 10 years and had no relief from medical therapies. And that's when I first learned, you mean it's the law that a licensed doctor cannot recommend any alternative to the pharmaceutical approach unless a person has suffered for 10 years and failed? That's the law. That is the law. So no, I don't care how good intentions your doctor is. If he is a licensed doctor, he'll be under charges if he tells you anything alternative. And they will come after him. I know lots of doctors they went after for that. And I only know the one that won, Dr. Privatera. A good friend of mine. He got 6 people who had suffered 10 to 32 years with inflammatory bowel syndrome. They suffered from drinking water. They suffered from taking any kinds of food into their body. So he filtered the whipworm's eggs in a certain way and then put them in Gatorade. Now Gatorade is highly alkalinizing. So he figured that will neutralize the hydrochloric acid, wouldn't destroy the eggs, and they would pass into the intestines and incubate. And he was right. I tried to do that many times, but I never thought of putting it in Gatorade, and I would never put it in Gatorade. Now I would put it in vegetable juice and then do it that way. But now I just tell them to eat the whole intestine and don't worry about it. Don't worry, the eggs they're already there. You don't have to worry about separating the eggs. He gave the 6 people the whipworm, and it all incubated, and within 5 days, 5 of the 6 were asymptomatic, able to eat absolutely anything. Can you imagine the one who'd suffered for 32 years, all of a sudden in 5 days able to eat anything without any gas, any distress, no vomit, no diarrhea, no nausea, anything? Because the parasites were in there. They can eat 100 times their weight in 24 hours. So you know how they can digest that food for you. So all their waste product neutralifies the system incredibly. So you have detoxifying parasites and you have digestive parasites. In most tribes, when they eat meat, they don't chew it. They don't grind it or chop it. They're eating big gobs of it. So of course the hydrochloric acid can never be enough to break it down. So that these larger parasites to break it down. Very simple. The body and nature works wonderfully with the human being, the human condition, the human needs. And if you don't trust it, if you think there's some attack, you're going to be attacking it, your very nature.
If you ever get food poisoning, it's because of toxins. Microscopic bugs are never in a million years gonna make you throw up, get diarrhea, etc. That's why those are called detoxification systems. They will do the opposite. If you eat fermented foods high in bacteria such as high meat, you will feel amazing because you will be getting more of what you're made out of. All of our cells have bacteria living inside of them. When we breathe and eat, the mitochondria uses the oxygen and nutrients to create energy. Antibiotics appear to work because they reduce the inflammation, which is the body's response to the problem you're having. So it's an illusion. Statins work the same way. They reduce the inflammation, which is caused by sugar, but at the same time lower your cholesterol, which will kill you. All of us have salmonella, E. coli in our bodies. When you do a stool test because of food poisoning, they will always find something, and you will end up taking antibiotics. The system was created to kill you. Peace.